Welcome to the show. Super Tuesday number 2 is in the record books, and there's no denying that it was a good night for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Let's start on the Democratic side, though. Brittany, is there a road forward for the burn?
Absolutely.
Do tell.
I think it's going to come.
Doesn't he have like 2 delegates?
No, he has 888.
Three delegates.
He has 888 regular delegates.
Okay.
I don't really count super delegates
Okay.
at the time being. Hillary Clinton has just over, I believe, 1,100.
Okay.
And the way that the DNC works, all the states that Hillary was slotted to win was prior to this date, and all the states that Bernie is slotted to win is coming up in the next few weeks. So I think a lot of people are going to be really surprised like they were with Michigan.
Okay.
So Bernie's going to have some momentum going forward is what you're thinking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, we hear a lot about a contested convention on the Republican side. Do you think possibly we could have one on the Democratic side?
Possibly, but I think with the news stories that's coming out about Hillary, I think the DNC might actually favor a Sanders nomination.
You think she's going to be in an orange jumpsuit?
I don't know. There's a lot of talk, so it's possible.
Henry, what say you?
Do you really think Obama is going to have her indicted? Unless her numbers start to really plummet, I see that they're going to not push forward with the indictment on her. They'll bury it someplace. There's plenty of places for Obama to bury facts. He's done it for the last 7 years, so what's going to change now? They're going to bury it, and if her numbers go down when she's facing whoever the Republican challenger is, and they'll pull Uncle Joe into the mix, and he'll be the candidate. They're not going to let Bernie be the lead person for the Democratic Party.
So here's a conspiracy theory. You know, Hillary Clinton, unlike any other presidential candidate I have ever run into, talks about having a third term essentially for Obama. In other words, she would be an extension of the Obama administration. One has to wonder if there's not a little quid pro quo in the background suggesting that you make a prosecution not happen, I'll continue your legacy.
I think the conspiracy theories are really funny, but they're just fiction, honestly. I don't think that's what's happening. I wouldn't mind personally if Obama, not Clinton, was president for a third term, because I like him, but I don't think that's what's happening. I think Hillary will probably do whatever she has to do to get into office, but I don't see her continuing on with his legacy, because there's a lot of different standpoints and viewpoints.
Do you think there's any merit to the fact that she's gone through and said, Obama, you're going to be my Supreme Court nomination?
I would love for that to happen. I don't see. If you look at the election when they were running against each other, there's so much animosity, especially from Hillary Clinton's side. I think she bought her time and waited it out for this year. I don't see her continuing a relationship with Obama, to be honest, after this.
All right. So let's take a look at the Republican side. We have Marco Rubio, who is now officially out. We have, of course, the Donald.
The Donald, Ted Cruz.
And Governor Kasich. So Governor Kasich won his home state, which is a good thing. You know, Marco Rubio lost pitifully.
Yeah.
And the Donald had a great night.
Well, you know,
and Ted, not so much.
You have to look. The Donald essentially won everywhere he needed to win. Now, maybe not convincingly as we pull up Missouri, but I thought, honestly, that could have been in the Cruz category, you know, based upon his success in the surrounding states. So Donald did pretty good last night.
Donald did as good as Donald could do, in my opinion.
And, you know, Missouri still could be contested because they're less than 0.5% off of that. But last I read, the Cruz campaign was not planning on contesting it, and we're talking about 15 delegate bump for whoever wins the state of Missouri versus the person who comes in second. But since they're equal, they should split the delegates evenly with exception of the 15.
So, you know, looking on the Republican side, I got to tell you from my perspective, the speech that Rubio gave last night was the best speech I've heard from him ever. And I just wish I had heard that speech very early on in the process, because quite frankly, it might have changed my mind as a Republican about who to vote for.
But you're living in Maryland, so we still wouldn't have had the opportunity to vote for him.
Well, I get that. I assume there might be others like me that might have been swayed.
Right.
It was a very well thought out, well delivered, passionate speech, in my opinion.
Well, he had a week to prepare for it.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I don't mean to sound harsh, but you know, he probably could have stepped down back 2 weeks ago, and it would not have negatively impacted the campaign whatsoever. But we have to sit back and we need to look at some of the numbers here. That, why is John Kasich still in the race? Is he here for the establishment Republicans to be the spoiler and cause the vote to be a second vote at the Republican convention and show how much in disarray the Republican Party is nationally?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a deal coming between he and Trump at the end of the day where he's going to be vice president on the ticket. He's going to sign what will be much needed delegates at that point to Trump, and off we go.
You think Kasich and Trump's going to broker a deal, not Cruz and Trump?
No, I think there's too much animosity
Yeah.
between Cruz and Trump, and frankly, regardless of what the votes that Cruz has gotten, and I know he's come as close to anyone at beating Trump, and I don't buy his theory that he has beat Trump because he hasn't, but he's come as close as anyone has come, but he's not liked in the Senate.
And the difference is that Trump advertises and promotes, he can get the deal done. Cruz, on the other hand, I don't think he has any flexibility on his positions, and I think we would have a bigger logjam,
Well,
even with his own party.
yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think it's a case of Donald Trump playing chess versus all the rest of them playing checkers. Donald Trump is 5 moves ahead. When Donald Trump came out and said, I don't agree with what George W. Bush did, I think the war was the wrong thing to do, I don't think he kept the country safe, in my mind, that was a play for moderate Democrats to say, see, I don't like him either. And if I get to the general election, you can feel comfortable voting for me because your nemesis is my nemesis.
Now, what do you think about Trump refusing to debate one more time?
Well, not only Trump, okay.
Well, Kasich followed suit, but Trump said, I'm busy, I'm speaking to the American Jewish Society.
A lobbyist group.
Yeah.
I think it's very telling that he's passing it off for a lobbyist group. But at the same time, like you said, how many more debates do you really need?
I think, in my opinion, there is nothing for him to win in another debate.
It's a lose-lose for him.
Right. Best case, he wins another debate. Who cares? He's won several of them in the past. Worst case, he makes a horse's patoot of himself and loses votes.
Well, and plus we're going into a minor Tuesday. America Samoa is on the charts to vote. Okay, I'm sure that's going to be a massive turnout there for, I think it's 9 delegates. We have Arizona for 58, and Utah is having a caucus for 40 delegates. So it's going to be interesting how that transpires because of Trump's immigration policy, and Arizona being a border state. Is Trump's policy going to be embraced in Arizona?
That's a good point.
Let's go back to the Democratic side for a minute. How would an indictment impact the Hillary campaign?
It would be the nail in the coffin, I feel.
But what happens next? Do we roll back to the Joe Biden factor? I mean, frankly, I was surprised he didn't get in the outset.
I think he probably was advised to keep your distance, don't get tarred and feathered, and you can come in as the saving grace to the Democratic Party right before the convention when the indictment's handed down, because Bernie's not going to win the consensus of the Democratic Party because Bernie's always been an independent. So they want someone who's been loyal to the Democratic Party for their lifetime.
What do you think?
I want to see Bernie all the way through, but I think there might be somebody that swoops down as the saving grace. And if it's Biden, I think that's your only viable option, to be honest.
No,
That
there's
would be
Michelle
Biden.
Obama.
She's not a career politician, really.
Well, neither was Barack Obama until he miraculously,
Kind of like Donald Trump, too, I guess.
That's
and look
true.
how far he's getting in the presidential.
Yeah, at least he had
election.
executive experience.
So let's talk about friendly fire. The Donald Trump movement, there are a lot of opponents in very high places that think he will completely change the Republican Party. Now, as a Republican, I'm not sure that's a bad thing, but nonetheless, that is the concern. So the question becomes, what can they do to him in a contested convention to potentially take the nomination away, and is that a possibility? For example, there's a rule that suggests in the Republican convention, and all these rules are subject to change. They have a meeting before the convention and they can change them. But right now, and I forget the name of the rule, it's like 40-something, Yeah, Rule 40.
Rule 40.
Yeah, that you have to have won 8 states in order to be considered. And they did this. They put this rule in place last time because they wanted Ron Paul.
Yeah.
They wanted to essentially downplay Ron Paul as a potential candidate in the convention.
Well, you know, we have Paul Ryan, who I believe is presiding over the Republican convention, and he has openly said he would not rule out, if he was tapped on the shoulder, to run for president.
Well, Boehner just endorsed him, and his people, though, came out and said that he wasn't going to run. But, I mean, whether that holds true, though, at the end, I'd like to see a saving grace. I think there will be.
Oh, on the Republican side?
I think actually Mitt Romney is probably going to try to step
No,
in.
purportedly he's already filed the FCC filings for Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney's already lost, though.
Oh.
I mean, he lost last time. He lost 2 strikes and you're out, in my opinion.
I don't know.
But, you know, they had the Rule 40, but remember that both Cruz and Trump have the majority of delegates at this current point going in. So they will be able to dictate what's going on for the rules for the convention. So it's going to be interesting how everything hands out. But then if they do not have the majority of the 1237 magic number that we need to win, then the issue is when we go to a second vote, how is it going to be handled?
Yeah.
And it's subject to the interpretation of who's overriding or overseeing the meeting.
So, Brittany, last point to you. I want to see if you can say this for me. President Trump.
No, that goes against everything I
President
believe in.
Trump. You heard it here
President
first, folks.
Sanders.
Next up on the flip side, March Madness. It's here. What's it all about? We'll be back in 3 minutes. Stay with us.